The average person today eats over 100 pounds of sugar a year. It's hidden in everything. 100 years ago, the average person ate 5 pounds of sugar, which they thought was a lot. We need to get rid of the sugar. We need to drink more water. We need to eat the berries, green vegetables, the fishes, and the nuts. You can't eat anything in abundance. You got to eat it in balance. Nowadays, everybody is so sensitive because we're being bombarded by foods that aren't real. Hey, it's great to be here. You see why we need BrainTap when you see those videos. Wow. I had a doctor in Nebraska that I was working with, and I'd never been to a cage fight. And after I was done, I go, I know why I've never been to a cage fight. Those things are brutal. So I'm being interviewed right now on radio because of what happened to Brett Favre. You know, he said he has Parkinson's. They said it might have something to do with CTEs. And what I'm telling them is that they need to be doing something now. Everybody waits for a breakdown to have a breakthrough. You need to be working on your brain today. So hopefully with the tips I'm going to give you here to 10x your brain potential, we do work with 4 of the world champions in UFC, Fighter Club. There's 4 different ones that we have the world champions all using BrainTap. Because I told them, I said, you can wait till you get a concussion, which is going to happen. I mean, you saw a few of them right there. Or you can start repairing right now. Because in practice, they're actually getting those concussions too. And the same with football, and the same with volleyball. And by the way, the sport that gets the most concussions is cheerleading, which most people don't know about. Second is soccer. So, I mean, these are sports you don't think about. People go, my son's not going to play football, he's going to play soccer. Well, you have no protection. So let's talk about brain health now. So for those that don't know my background a little bit, my dad was a Silva instructor, which is a meditation instructor, because the Catholic Church came over and said, hey, Michael, we're going to help you to stop drinking. But they did it kind of covertly. They said, we're going to teach you how to relax. My dad sat in one seminar in Battle Creek, Michigan, laid down on the floor, on the carpet, relaxed one night, and never drank again. Because he realized at that moment he was drinking to be balanced. He was drinking to try to get relaxed. He wasn't drinking to try to get high. He wasn't drinking to try to ruin his family. And so I think that that's one thing most people don't realize is that everyone's doing the best they can with the information they have at hand. So hopefully I'm going to be giving you some new information. And I'm a firm believer that BrainTap isn't the only answer. So I'm going to talk about it a little bit, but BrainTap isn't the only answer because we partner with most of those people you see out in that hallway out there. And hopefully you guys get out there and see them because those are the people that Doug and I picked that we think you should all know about. So when you go out there and you meet with them, those are hand-picked. Now, there's a couple out there I don't know, but most of them I do know, and I'm going to talk about some of them here. And I believe that you as a person and in practice, you need to be using some of those other devices. Because there's not one size that fits all. It's just like nutrition. We find a great nutrition like we have here at Optum Health Systems, but you need to take that nutrition daily. It doesn't do any good if it just sits on the shelf, right? We gotta take it. So some of these other activities are there as well. So we're going to start with that. So these are my big 3, if you will. These are if you want to have non-negotiables, if I have to travel and I have to do a carry-on and I can't take my duffel bag because my son says, are you doing all right, Dad? Because I have a duffel bag with all my supplements because I take them 3 times a day. And I'd say I only eat 2 meals a day, but 1 meal could be probably all my supplements. You know, so you have all those, but it's important. And the reason we have those, EFAs is for the brain. Your brain needs those fats. Now, you can get them from greens as well, and you can get them from other sources, but this is an easy way to take them. The Be Awake, I believe every person on earth should be taking the Be Awake every morning. If you've heard me talk before, you heard me say that when Bill from the big book of AA stopped drinking, he did not stop drinking by going to meetings and standing up and saying, hey, I'm Bill, I'm an alcoholic, it's been 2 years since I've had a drink. That might help some people, but they have a 2% success rate, so you can't argue with that. You know, it's really successful. He stopped drinking because he did nutrition. The hidden story of alcoholism is he changed his diet and started taking B3. That's how he stopped drinking. But that's too easy. B3 is too easy to do it. So you're going to hear me say over and over again that spirit is simple, man is complex. You want simple solutions that can be done by everybody on earth. Now the reason for the whole C is you're going to see if you get scanned by us over at our booth, everybody has inflammation today. We live in an unnatural world, as Doug was saying. We are being bombarded physically, mentally, emotionally, chemically, spiritually, everything. We are being trained in ways that we don't even know. This room, I'm sure, doesn't have John Ott lights. We're not under full spectrum lighting, this outgassing in the carpet, the chairs. I mean, who knows what's going on here? But our immune system is thinking about it, doing it. So we need to boost that immune system. So when we think about your foods in your diet, of course, you need to have foods that are high in omega-3s, you have antioxidants, vitamins. Avoid sugars. The number one thing that I tell people when they say, what's the number one thing I can do for my brain today? And not really change it much. You know, they just want to know what's the first thing. Get rid of sugar. The average person today eats over 100 pounds of sugar a year. It's hidden in everything. 100 years ago, the average person ate 5 pounds of sugar, which they thought was a lot. You know, so we need to get rid of the sugar. We need to drink more water. We need to eat the berries, the leafy green vegetables, the fishes and the nuts. And I really don't like when you go online and now they're telling us we can't eat almonds, we can't eat cashews, we can't eat bullshit. We can eat those things. You can't eat anything in abundance. You got to eat it in balance. So if you have a reaction to nuts, that's because everybody is reactionary now. I mean, when I grew up, nobody had a peanut allergy. Everybody could get on the airplane. You know, nowadays everybody is so sensitive because we're being bombarded by foods that aren't real. I had a saying at my house, and I put it in my book, Awaken the Genius, if you can't read it, you can't eat it. So my kids always wanted to have they'd go to the store and they'd see their friends eating the candy bars and all the junk food, and I'd say, if you can read it. Well, it backfired on me because my daughter became a really good reader. You know, she could read and pronounce anything, so, you know, but it doesn't always work. But I said, if it's longer, then I had to say, if it's longer than this, you know, you can't eat it, you know, because they learn how to hide the sugars. They learn how to hide the fats. These are all things that are killing our brain. So the number one thing is, remember, thoughts, traumas, and toxins. So if we can get rid of the toxins, we already have enough toxins in our life. We don't need to be adding them into our meals. And I'm not saying you can't have cake and things like that. Then that's when you're going to cheat a little bit and have a little more protein and fat maybe to slow it down into your system. There's ways to do that. We need regular exercise. I said in my talk yesterday that every 20 minutes you're sitting, you're smoking a cigarette equivalent to your nervous system. Your nervous system is down-regulating, especially you chiropractors in the room, because you're used to walking all day long, pretty much, and now you've been sitting. So get up in between speakers, go see the vendors, go do something, walk around, don't just sit here all day. Your body is going to be down-regulated. Now, the reason I show this picture here, and that's Bob Eubanks, if you remember him from the dating show, we have that at our booth because Dan, who's a good friend of ours now, and we're doing business with him, this board is changing people's lives. It's getting people out of wheelchairs. And we have a program with BrainTap with it. We teach the brain to rewire. You've probably heard of cross crawls and all these different exercises you can do. What Dan did, he was a professional soccer player, but he also was a performer on stage, and he fell off the stage and he couldn't walk. So he had to design some equipment to get him back walking again. And now this is revolutionizing things. When we show what happens with the brain when you do this exercise and you do BrainTap, it's a powerful punch because we need to work the nervous system and then really let it set. That's where the golden halo of exercise happens, when you get that BDNF and those neurotropic factors and you get that neuroplasticity going. You need to be doing something before that. Now you're going to calm the brain. You might hear it today from Alex when he talks about the TBRX program, but Tom always says for every 1 minute of exertion, you need 2 minutes of recovery. And I know that he was talking up here that he didn't know about recovery. Most people don't know about recovery today. They think it's all about training, it's all about doing. No, you just need a little bit of something. Dan Millman, who wrote the book, The Way of the Peaceful Warrior, he had a saying that I've been using ever since I read it back in the 70s. He said, a little bit of something's better than a whole lot of nothing. You know, so whatever you do something, get your body moving. This exercise is going to help you move. Now, number 3, sleep's important. Now, I did a whole talk on it yesterday, but sleep is so important that everyone in this room should make that the number 1 priority, because if you're not sleeping, it doesn't matter what else we all say up here. If you're not sleeping, you're not metabolizing, digesting all those great nutrients, your brain's not functioning, you're not categorizing, organizing your day, your toxins are there, you're not reaching level 4 sleep, so you're not detoxing the brain. All of these things are so important. But what I do know is, if you can't do it on your own, I know a piece of equipment that can do it for you. BrainTap, and it's the number one thing in every study we do across the world that they go, this is blowing our minds. How can you get these people to sleep? They didn't do a session at night. They did it in the morning or they did it in the afternoon. When we did our peak performance study, one of the things with Googlers and Microsoft people, we didn't have them do a nighttime session, but they improved their sleep score 43%. They just have to unload that stress sometime during the day. You can't go to bed fully loaded with stress and think the body is going to get rid of it. You need to unwind the body. So if you were at my talk yesterday, you can maybe get the recording or whatever, but there's some exercises you can do that aren't BrainTap if you don't have that. But you need to down-regulate your nervous system before you go to bed. If you look up the breathing technique, 4-8 breath, if you're having trouble sleeping, just start practicing that 4-8 breath before you go to bed, and you will find that you're now exercising the nervous system. Most people don't go to bed correctly. They basically think they're supposed to lay in bed, boom, go to sleep. That's the worst thing you can do. You should be in bed thinking of all the things you're grateful for right before you go to bed. A lot of people, when I grew up, of course, we grew up saying prayers before going to bed, so that's a good practice too. So gratitude, prayers, some way to get your mind thinking about something other than whatever disaster is about to happen in your life. You know, some people have that catastrophe kind of mentality, and right before they go to bed, they start catastrophizing, and then they wonder why they can't sleep. You want to put that all, give that to that higher power. You don't have to deal with it. There's a greater power than you that can deal with it. Sleep is for you to recharge, revitalize. That's when you're going to take all of the suffering that you went through the day, and you're going to make your superpowers. If you don't incubate those superpowers, you don't get them the next day. So sleep is super important. Now, reducing stress in brain health, one of the things, when you think about what happens to your body, most people don't know, during COVID, they did a study. The average person's brain, nobody in this room, but the average person that wasn't doing what we're doing here, their brain shrunk 3/4 of an inch, just during COVID. I've been doing TV interviews. There's one that they have out there now that they found out that female brains, the girls' brains, teenage girls, during COVID, aged 4.5 years faster. And the boys, their brain accelerated 1.5. And they're asking me, why did that happen? Why did the girls' brains age faster than the boys? Well, the girls had more neuron connections to start with. That's true, guys, I'm sorry, but women have more neuron connections. You know, you've seen that meme on YouTube or whatever. It has the thing, it says, how do you turn a guy on? It's got one switch, you know, and then it says, how do you turn a woman on? It's got like 100 of them. You gotta know the order in which to press them. You know, there's more neuron connections there. So, of course, when they got stressed out and they said, why do you think it happened during COVID? Number one, fear. The number one thing, if you want to stop your nervous system in its tracks, fear, because the first thing that we do is we go into the freeze response. Then we have to either decide, are we going to run or are we going to fight? But if we go into the freeze response so often, the body doesn't know what to do next. And that's what we call uncertainty. People had uncertainty during COVID. So they had the double whammy. Not only did they have fear, they had no place to run. They couldn't go outside. They couldn't even talk to their friends because their friends were carrying something. You know, it was the worst thing you could do for the human brain that year. And so unless you were like me, I'm looking at these people going, what's going on? You know, they're really going for this? They're falling for this? But people, right now, we need more thinkers than we need followers. Just because you say something is something, you know, I could say, you know, that's an elephant. And you're not going to believe me, but I can say, that's an elephant. And if I get enough of you to believe it, we could convince a few of you to believe that's an elephant. Because that's the way mass hysteria works. You know, they're convincing people. So we need to keep our brain stress-free. Right now, people are concerned about AI and how that's going to affect people. In my new book that I'm writing, Hay House is putting out called the Brain Fitness Blueprint, I say AI, if you use it correctly, is going to free you up to be more creative, more of a thinker. AI just does that grunt work that you might not want to do. You know, I wouldn't let it write my books, but you could have it correct your grammar. You know, it does those kind of things. So there's a lot of things. You got to look at it for what it does. I think right now, one of the biggest things we can do for our brain health is start using technology the way it was intended. Don't use it, don't abuse it, but use it to assist us. When you think about cognitive practices, one of the things we have out here, Clint Oprah's out here with earthing, and the reason I invited him here is most people don't realize that if you can earth, and I really think you should all go over there and check out his booth, because if you can earth, they have statistical studies that show 25% reduction in inflammation. just by grounding. Now, you can do it for free. You can take your shoes off, go outside, touch the earth, get outside and forest bathe, or you can use technology. There's technology out there that can do that. So when we talk about doing brain work, like a lot of people think they do their crossword puzzle or they do puzzles, those are all really good, but I can actually show you how they they actually age the brain because they stress the brain out. Anything you do that stresses your brain, you need to do something to recover that brain. So if when we do school, like in school, when we work with schools, and we're in a lot of schools, especially in India, they call it brain prep. The beginning of the day. They actually play a BrainTap session over the whole school. Everybody listens to it. They don't have the headset on. But in the back of the classrooms, they have BrainTap. They call it their escape room. So if the kid gets stressed out or anxious or worried, they just go to the back of the room and do BrainTap. Because we've trained them. Stress is okay in some amounts. We need stress to learn, grow, and develop. But we don't need so much stress that it creates what's called neuropruning. That's when your brain starts to unravel. That's what happened during COVID to these kids. Their brain started unplugging before its time. Usually, when we're born, we're fully wired. As we go through life, we unplug. If we unplug too fast, we get dementia, and then Alzheimer's. It's all a function also of energy. When you think about BrainTap and what it does, now, this has got the device that we use that's out there as well, where you can go around the vending hall and you have the breath, you're breathing in while you're doing BrainTap. It's a great device out there. It's on the side that looks like it's storage, but there's actually some people around that side, some really good things like the Avant and the Avocent. And so when the Avocent, when you see it over there, you can put your hand in it while you're doing BrainTap. It's a perfect thing. I have it at my house, I have it at my clinic. It's going to heat up your core. It's going to do some magical things. So these are things you can do at the same time. This was an NAD clinic that I went to, and I was there with Rwanda, who's back there at the booth. And I went in the first day, and I'm seeing everybody standing up. They're suffering. They're doing NAD intravenously. I sat down, put on my BrainTap. I said, how do you make this go faster? They go, nobody asked for it to go faster. They want it to go slower because you get up. And I said, I have someplace to be in 45 minutes. And they said, just do this. So I opened it up all the way. They go, oh, you're gonna hurt. I just put my BrainTap on, woke up 45 minutes, gave it back to him. Go, did you feel anything? I said, no, I wasn't even here. I was on the BrainTap. By the end of that week, everybody was using BrainTap, and everybody, instead of taking 4 hours to do their NAD, did it in 45 minutes. Because your being present isn't needed. My brain was getting fed NAD and my stomach was getting upset, but I don't have to be there for it. I can disassociate. When I'm in that high levels of alpha and theta, I only feel pain and suffering in beta. So why don't I just get rid of that brainwave while I'm doing it? And then at the end of it, just took out, and then they're all blown away. And then we set them up with the neurocheck and we started showing them what physiologically was happening to them. Because people want to know, is this really doing something for me? Yeah, it's really doing something for you. We can measure it. Here's the before and here's the after, When you think about resilience, the tip number 7 is you have to have emotional resilience. If you're not ready, and I think our last speaker said it best, if you haven't had a lot of failures in your life, I feel sorry for you. One of my favorite lines is that I was born the son of an alcoholic, and I have it as in my book, it's a chapter, it says, I was blessed to be the son of an alcoholic. Because if I didn't go through all that misery and suffering and being told all those bad things, I would never be the one I was. And for me, I had a certain propensity. My mother, when she passed away, actually made a book for all of us that we didn't know she was doing. It was all the little things we did when we were kids that we didn't know we did. And, she wrote them down. And it was kind of neat to look at when she passed away, and we still have it. But there was one piece of paper in there that she said, Patrick gave this to his father when he was 5. In my family, we have 9 kids in our family, and my dad never got mad at me that I remember. And I found out why, because of this note. And it said, Patrick handed this to his father when he was 5. I was 5 years old. I handed him a note. What it said when you opened it, it says, you can't control me with your voice. And I was 5 years old. So some people just born that way. I didn't let people affect me because I was an all sport. I was an athlete, all world in high school or whatever, but then dislocated my shoulder, so I didn't get my scholarship. I had to go, well, what am I going to do? I started calling plays for the JV team. They had the first winning season they ever had. And I wasn't even a quarterback, I was a running back. But I heard my dad complain so much about plays on Sunday that I got pretty good at it. But it's about resilience. Can you get knocked down and get back up? Failure is never final. That's what you have to, failure, in ancient Chinese proverb, they say success is falling down 4 times, getting up 5. That didn't really make sense, but what they're saying is get back up. It doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down. If I would have waited with BrainTap, when I started the company in 1986 with another group in Phoenix, it was called Light and Sound Research, they went out of business because the owners were scared. They got to a certain point, they couldn't handle the business. They just went back to being school teachers. They left me with the business because I was too stupid to leave it. And I just kept going. I started a franchise company, grew that to 108 locations, sold that in the 16th one. But I can tell you, it's not always been a bed of roses. And technology's thrown a lot of curves in that because everybody thinks because you have the internet, everything's going to work. No, that's not, it just gives another wrinkle to what you do. But you have to have that resilience. You have to be really ready to bounce back. Right now, I said this in the opening talks, but right now, while you're here connecting with hopefully your friends and family, maybe making some new friends that will be your friends the rest of your life. I know when I met John Brimhall and his group, we know all these people now. They're like our family. We go to his homecoming. It's a great environment. Doug does this event. It's the 2 times a year we get to be with this group of people. And now that it's expanding and getting bigger. So when you think about connection, worst thing that happened during the COVID and what they're saying is when they isolated us from each other. We have a real reason for being next to each other. The oxytocin and what we need, that will down-regulate all the stress hormones. So when you're around people that we call gainers, there are also drainers, right? There are people in our life that are like energy vampires. We need to disassociate from them. Sometimes they're our family, so we have to do something, to not be with them. But we want to be around people that raise our energy. And it's a real thing now, guys. It's not something that I'm just saying metaphysically. You are actually sharing energy at the cellular level. You're sharing your information. You're sharing who you are. It's in your field. National Institute of Health, just go to their website. 1994, they said that all illness starts in the biofield. Our National Institute of Health said that. Nobody told the drug company that, but it's in the National Institute of Health's files. Because it's true. What we are energy beings. So the more we can keep our energy, we get energy from each other. And unfortunately, you can be good or bad energy, right? So you can take you one way or the other, but we need to keep this going. When you think about our toxic environment, I brought somebody here that has toxic testing out there, because a lot of times when I'm working with people neurologically, they're doing everything right. They're eating right, they're exercising, doing everything, but they're still getting sick. I'll say, hey, you know what? Go get a mold test. There's something in your environment that's causing it. Most people don't know that your environment is changing who you are every 40 seconds. Every DNA pair is changing based on your environment. By the people you see, the conversations you have, everything is changing about you. But if you don't know, you have something called nose blindness. You can get into a home that has mold. Your body will get sick at first, but then you'll get over it if you don't leave, because the body will say, they're not leaving, it must be safe. So then you don't smell it anymore. You don't get the same symptoms anymore until they become so bad that they can't do anything about it. So there's some environmental testing out there in the break area. I really recommend you do that. I recommend it to every client that I see. When I've done everything I can and they're still not getting fixed, I know it's their environment. In something's going on in the air and the atmosphere. But what you really need to be doing is getting people out of their homes. Most people don't realize their home air is 20 times worse than the air outside. So your immune system is constantly working. If you don't get outside, get some clean water, organic foods, get rid of the pollution, your body is just sitting in those toxins. Remember, thoughts, traumas, and toxins. We want to eliminate those toxins that we can, and it's really important for the brain. When you think about downtime, in what we do, taking time, when I talked about that study with the peak performance study, and Julie Arndt's actually doing a TED Talk on it, which is going to be amazing. I can't wait till that comes out. And what we showed was if those people would give us 20 minutes in the middle of the day, just 20 minutes, these were the top performers at Google and Microsoft. They wouldn't do it at first. They're too busy because they only get paid when they produce code. But at the end of that study, by taking a 20-minute break, they produced 23% more work product. They were actually all clinically depressed. We had them take the DAS test, and they had 70%. If you're above 40, you're clinically depressed. They were 70. So these people were all clinically depressed. They were very successful in business, but they were just waiting to burn out. Because that's why they brought us in. They want to know, how can we stop these people from burning out? Give them a 20-minute break at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. If you heard me talk, you know that at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, your temperature drops 2 degrees. So you need to do something to shore that up. And so you do the BrainTap session. Their sleep improved, their performance improved, their happiness score went to 54, their depression, they were no longer clinically depressed. It's a factor of energy. You can't keep going all day long doing the same thing. You got to get a break away from it. So that's a key here in what we're doing. Now, when you think about this, there's 3 things that I always talk about for brain fitness. Number 1, of course, is nutrients. You need to have the right nutrients. You can't outthink a bad diet. I don't care who you are. If you can outthink them, I want to learn that technique because it would save me a lot of money. But the reality is that we can't get it from the foods we're eating. So we've got to have supplementation, and that's why we're here, to figure out what you need and what you don't need. But we also need movement. If you're not getting the right movement for you, now you could do Tai Chi, yoga, running, walking. If the base thing is just walking, that does some neurological activity that you don't want to miss out on. So if you don't do anything else, do that. You can come over to our booth. You can see what we have as far as the balance board goes, because it's a very inexpensive thing. It's under $400. And people can have it in their home, and they can work it while they're watching TV. It's a really, I give it to any person we're working with dementia or Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's people, I wait till they get regulated back down into the dementia scale, or somebody's going to watch them. They actually use the BrainTap while they're using it, so they're standing up doing it. Just like you might see Tom Brady's group, Alex Guerrero, they use the BrainTap while they're doing their exercises and stretches, because they know the light will help things. Just like you see Dr. Brimhall use lasers and things, but they're just using the light while they're doing it. So you can use lasers, you can use lights. We want to get light energy into the body. And then do some kind of brain fitness. If you're not doing any kind of brain fitness, it could be something just as simple as doing breath exercises. And there's 3 breath exercises I'm going to share with you for those that don't have BrainTap. I'm going to encourage you to go check us out and actually, how many people in the room have a BrainTap? So you can see there's quite a few, over half of you in the room have it right now. So you can ask them what they're doing. Why are they listening to it? Our average user uses it 27 times a month. When somebody joins our program, we only have 1% of those people ever leave. If we get them on there, get them using it. And if you're a doctor that's a BrainTap doctor, you can give it away for free for 14 days. What I tell people is use it for 14 days. If you don't like it, just cancel it. You won't be charged. That's your simple sale. Everybody should be doing it, at least for 14 days. It's free. You don't pay anything. Use it, see if it works for you. I guarantee you it will, because it's worked for everybody else. In all of our studies, it's the only thing the universities tell us, there's never been anything they've ever done that everybody gets the result we're telling them. Because it's about energy. If we can bring the people's energy up, they'll be performing better. Your brain, you are exact relation to whatever your energy level is for your brain. We need to bring that brain energy up. We can measure that too. We have the Wavi at our booth. I don't know if they're doing them here because they take 45 minutes, but if you don't have at least 10.1 volts across your hippocampus, you're going to have dementia in no time. And we can show you how to increase that energy. You need to keep that energy up. When we're kids, it's 18.1 if you're wondering. So thanks for letting me share with you. Hopefully you'll come and visit us.
Thank you for joining us on our mission to better a billion brains. Follow at Dr. Patrick Porter on social media for updates, and remember to practice brain fitness every day.